In 2023 will be recalled as the year that AI burst into the open consciousness, opened the charge, but what? Does its boss really think? What does he got to build, and can he bring us with him? Sam Old, he's the shake and roll star of fake experiences. He's raised billions of dollars from Microsoft, and his early support consolidates Elon Musk and Reid Hoffman. It's been a hell of travel, and the more we know around AI. I caught up with Sam at the beginning of countries in reasonable 30 days. We talked to sometime recently a live gather of spectators of approximately 1,000 people outside. How are you doing? It's been super great, and I wasn't past any question how much fun I was advancing to have. I really required to do it since I think the sort of San Francisco echo never found a substitution for getting on airplanes, get together people in the require us to do how they're considering around AI, what they're energized around, what they're on edge nearly. It's been indeed more important than I expected, and I've had an uncommon time. I've seen you taking notes by hand in a note cushion as you tune in from people as well. I still taking hand. There's pointing to be a lesson in likely no lesson. Did you imagine that interior reasonable sum ought to get on a plane, fly around the world to tune in to individuals? I've ceaselessly endeavored to do this. When I was running my combinator, I would attempt to fly around and meet people apart. I think it's really basic. I think in a couple of ways, and you get incredible, exceptionally unmistakable focuses of view. And certainly, like, when we started opening, I thought it likely wasn't pointing to work, but within the occasion that it did work, impactful advancement in getting input from the world would be an extremely basic thing to do. So you are a few ways through this discussion, and you've been to countries in the around the world south, and you've been to wealthier European countries as well. Reasonable, giving us a fast thumbnail. How do states of intellect move, and what stunned you? Which demeanors are the same? Huge energy from individuals. Advancement all over, and after that fear, particularly from people who don't utilize the development, or for people who utilize it separated, and I've really thought the concerns are certainly assorted in unmistakable places. Like inside the around the world south, there's a portion more around what are the budgetary benefits this can give right by, and by how can this offer assistance with issues that we stand up to in instruction, healthcare, right by, and in more made universes. There's more of you. How are we arranging to form beyond any question that many of these longer term issues are tended to, which of course makes sense. Nearly the advancement, the need to take, and intrigued that need to guarantee that this, which we have some ways to genuinely reflect that inside the systems that get built here. A couple of ways to have administration advantage. Sharing gets to sharing that feels sensible, like that's been all comprehensive when you're in various cases inside the Silicon Valley model. The originator of an exchange like this, or a benefit like this, has a portion of value. Prosperity assurances. So what is the inward? The demands out on you, on your time, your energy. I can't think of any more energizing things. Pitiless. I believe this may be self-explanatory, but I can't think of incredibly favored to be at this. Working with this particular gather, I don't know how I would conceivably or possibly spend the days, right? Of cash exceptionally early in my career, so thing do you've got mentors are there, people you're learning from. I feel like super blessed to have had amazing coaches. I as well think it's basic not to attempt to learn as well much from other people and sort of do. It's still not exceptionally right, but better accept it. I think one of the magical to prepare it on was it merely basically saw things going on after you were making. Figure out how to handle these a few time as of late we build the taking after these models are outstandingly troublesome to construct, just like the time between GPT-3 and 4 was about 3 a long time. It fair takes a whereas there's a parcel of other stuff we require to do with GPT-4. Directly that it's done we require to consider. Post-training a divide we ought to amplify it in all sorts of ways the truth they can. Celerity in iPhone each year is extraordinary. To me, but like we're reasonable going to be on a longer than 1 year cadence you said. That there's more explore to be done. And there are a number of especially well storied AI investigators who have said that broad tongue models are restricted. Construct fake common insights. With LLMs do you're doing you agree with that cruel to start with of all I think most of those commentators have been repulsively off base. Nearly what LLMs are coming to be able to do and a divide of them have directly exchanged to saying well it's not that LLMs aren't pointing to work it's that they work as well and they're as well hazardous and we need to stop them. Or others have reasonable said well you. And this can be regularly not any honest to goodness learning. Confirm LLMs work superior than anticipated, but Augie inside the current worldview which we but we're troublesome at work endeavoring to figure out the following worldview the thing I'm by most energized nearly maybe of point are pointing to offer help us find unused. Think speediest way to encourage theirs to go past the GPT worldview models that can make unused data models that can. Haven't seen a few time recently, which that's getting to require unused. Months definitely, it's very something and I do feel that it's presently and after that coming up with unused information. And I haven't done an incredible test, but I'm no doubt I am feeling there's impressions of it, right and it can do little things but it the rails adequate where you will be able reasonable say. Hi GPT-4 if it's not too much trouble go remedy cancer that's not attending to happen right, but it would be not too bad within the event that we had a framework that seemed to that by you talked about different investigate roads which will be required. Candidates basically think maybe the taking after step for mankind in building this nothing that I would say here's adequate certainty to spend time that it's coming to work we're troublesome to work on. Endeavoring to find it clearly we're talking around how viable these progresses are and start with one that's quite proximate. Dialect models are especially awesome at so it opens up that risk of misdirection and disinformation in crucial races inside the joined together states. Given that it's so proximate, what can we do and what can we help you with? I do think disinformation is. Besides, I think it's to a few degree full category we've labeled things as disinformation as a society. That turned out to be honest to goodness right we've things that turned out to be honest to goodness and we're coming to ought to find it just where we secure the capacity to be off base in exchange for presently and after that revealing crucial data, without saying everything as you know in 10 deliberateness disinformation utilize to control but people that are aims being off base and orchestrate to control I think may be a genuine issue, and I.P.T.L.S 3.5 in particular is genuinely very extraordinary, so in case there was going to be a disinformation wave, wouldn't it have come early? So I think individuals are as of now extraordinary at making disinformation, and possibly the GPT models make it less difficult. But that's not the thing I'm confused of. Besides, I think it's compassed into compare I in social media, but they're super different. Like, you'll make all the disinformation you wish with GPT-4, but on the off chance that it's reasonable for yourself and it's not being spread, it's not arranging to do much, so it is truly in any case, I think what it's worth to plug into channels that can offer help it. Call on my phone, I selected up there's a content to voice that sounds unimaginably reasonable, and after that the educating in there's genuinely balance to me, so it's and considered out by a machine. That's what I think the modern challenge will do, right? And there's a lot to do there. You know, we are ready to develop refusals into the models, prepared to build checking frameworks, so people can't do that at scale, but we're pointing to have, and I think it's imperative that we have. We're getting to strategies of what prepared to do in our possess. Systems won't work the same, right? So have a named client, so within the occasion that you see bad. Whereas an open source show can be run by anybody on their desktop computer, had a number of focuses, and it's actually much harder. There's a duplication problem, no question. Understanding this can't fair be open ace. Green's right, there ought to be. You must be asking for offer help. There's administrative things that prepared to do that will offer assistance. A few the honest to goodness arrangement here is to teach people around what's happening. We've been through this at some point as of late. When Photoshop to start with need to be predominant, there was a brief period of time where people were benevolent, in case you know seen this, tolerating its ought to be honest to goodness, and at that point you know a couple of people still drop for this stuff. But on the aggregate, on the off chance that you see in picture, you know it may be carefully controlled, well caught. On the same thing will happen with these unused innovations, but the sooner able to instruct people approximately it, since the eager resonation is pointing to be so much higher, I think the superior. Let's turn to instruction. We're in a around the world college here, and of course instruction is closely related to the job showcase. When we pass times we've seen between specialists and supervisors. I think back to the late 18th century there was Engels delay. The point in time in we're stagnant. When we're looking at AI, we might see something comparable, and not one or the other. You nor I think need understudies of history of the long run to be portraying Altman's delay when compensation persevered underneath a point of wait sense of the new innovation. Picks up from the innovation. Well, to start with, of all we reasonable require picks up we within the made world, right directly is we issues. So I'm energized that this advancement can bring the lost effectiveness once more, so the ultimate view reduce difference by nature, and a few one's going to go, but I think usually frequently a development that the shape of which is to decrease lopsidedness. My crucial appear of the world is that taken a toll of insights and obliging inputs, and in case you'll make those radically cheaper, drastically more open, that does more to assist In show disdain toward of the truth that it'll offer help everyone apportion this. Development will lift all of the world up. Most people in this room within the occasion that they require. A few sort of mental cognitive. People inside the world regularly can't and in case. On the off chance that prepared to commoditize that I think that is an equalizing, compelling and a vital. Superior accepted. I think it's like basic to think I think there will be way more occupations on the other side of this. Imaginative change I'm not a. Conventional livelihoods various of us do these days and be. Like that was really awful as a rule much. Predominant and more inquisitively presently. We do these days and that's fine we really think around that to a few degree in an startling way. Particular one the way that get to these systems are passed on decently is going to be an awfully challenging address. Development insurgencies, the thing that drew us together was political structures. Pitiless it was exchange, unionism and labor collectives inside the late 19th century when we see at sorts of structures that would be required. Picks up from unpaid or paid work. That's frequently not recognized for case. The work that women are doing around the late move within the sorts of work that we value, and giving human affiliation to people will all of a sudden be as I think have to be one of the first esteemed sorts of work happen in all sorts of diverse ways. So when you reflect on how AI has progressed to this super experiences and how that might fake experiences that's more competent than individuals in each and all. It's troublesome to convey a brief reply to this. I think there's a portion of things that we've learned so removed, but one of them is that we have a calculation that can genuinely learn and be it gets ordinarily predominant with capacity. These are two earth-shattering truths put together and I suspect we don't exceptionally feel how critical that's one recognition is that it's reasonable coming to keep going. Another recognition is that we'll have something unused, and a third is that I think the way that I utilize to think almost heading towards super experiences is we were pointing to develop this one incredibly competent framework, and there were a bunch of security challenges with that, and it was sort of a world that was going to feel sort of exceptionally shaky. But I think we by and by see a way where we exceptionally much develop these disobedient not animals, disobedient that get progressively effective of copies being utilized inside the world, making a distinction individual people reasonable be way. The entirety of surrender that one person can. And where the super insights develops isn't reasonable the capability of our most noteworthy single culminate neural arrange, but all of the advanced science we're discovering, all of the unused things we're making, and the cleverly between these billions and trillions of other systems the individuals utilizing these devices to build up this society and the data and the innovation and the educate standards that we have, which vision of living with super experiences shows up to me way more better all around in a way more energizing future for me, for all of you I trust. Kind of like one super in. I'm struck by how willing he is to lock in with the noteworthy threats that AI can posture. Maybe this can be regularly, since there's still so much we don't know roughly AI, since the field is moving so rapidly that it's troublesome without a doubt for some person in Sam's position to figure out what comes another, without a doubt. So one thing remains true,